I'm Sonny Franks, spokesperson for Symphony Shower Enclosures. In the next few minutes, we'll show you how to install this Symphony frameless shower enclosure. In a previous video, we covered product features and measuring techniques. Now we'll detail installation of the fixed panel with 3 clips, the door supported by heavy-duty hinges, the pull handle, and the acrylic drip rail and dam strip. The unit is fully reversible and can be installed with the door hinging from the right wall as you see here, or simply reverse the unit to swing off the left wall. All Symphony enclosures include a protective EnduroShield coating on both sides of the glass, so it is not possible to install the glass backwards. We'll talk more about EnduroShield later.
We'll use these common tools to install our door. You'll need a drill and 3/16" bits appropriate for the materials used to build your shower. We'll use a 3/16" tile bit. If your shower is marble, granite, or other materials, please check with your hardware store for the best type of drill bit. Depending on the hardness of your material, you may need as many as 3 bits to drill the 9 holes required. We'll use these wooden wedges available at most hardware stores to align the glass. A critical tool is a level at least 4 feet long. If you don't have one, you can purchase a plastic level for less than $12, and that's a good investment. You'll need a screw gun with a number 2 tip. We recommend a longer tip like you see here to eliminate scratching the surface of the hardware. You'll need a tube of good quality clear silicone sealant, and the other common tools that you see here. A critical part of your installation will be proper alignment and spacing of the panels. We'll use wooden wedges to adjust the glass to create a 1/8" gap here, and we'll make slight adjustments here to ensure that this surface is perfectly plumb. As we install the door, we'll leave a 1/2" space below the door, a 1/8" gap here, and approximately 5/16 space between the edge of the door and the wall. The panel and door will need to line up at the top. To support the door and panel, and to create the exact 1/2" space below the door, we'll take 4 of our wedges, adjust them until they're exactly a 1/2" wide, wrap them with tape. Make a total of 4 of these spacers. Now, let's turn back time a bit. Your Symphony unit will arrive in 3 boxes: a smaller hardware box, the door, and the panel. Handle the boxes very carefully and do not lay them flat. Before we open any boxes or drill any holes, let's double check the shipment. Be sure your hardware is the correct finish, and use the labels to verify size. The D indicates door, and the width is 26 inches. P means panel, and the width is 33 inches. Add the door width to the panel width, then add a 1/2 inch. This is the width of your unit. Now, let's measure. 26 inches plus 33 inches plus 1/2 inch equals 59.5 inches. Now, let's carefully open the boxes. Use a razor knife to cut the cardboard only in this area. Then unpack the door and fixed panel. Locate the acrylic drip rail and dam strip and set them aside. Use the box as a protective cardboard pad to protect the floor and interior of the shower. Tempered glass is difficult to break if handled properly. However, be very careful not to bump the edges of the glass on tile or anything solid. The corners are especially vulnerable to breakage and chipping, so keep these protective pads in place as long as possible by using blue painter's tape to secure them to the glass. Note that the door and the panel have a small tempering stamp, which you'll want to locate at the bottom of your unit. We'll install the fixed panel first. Remove the protective corner pad, clean the surface of the glass with the alcohol pads provided, and attach the top clip as shown. Tighten the set screw with a flat blade screwdriver. As you place the wall clip on the bottom of the panel, insert the thinner of the clear shims between the glass and the clip, then tighten the set screw. Position the center clip 1 inch from the edge of the glass, insert the clear shim, and tighten the set screw. Let's move on to the door. Clean the glass around the hinge cutouts with the alcohol pads. Loosen the Allen screws on one of the hinges and press it tight to the back of the top cutout, centering the hinge vertically. Tighten the screws just enough to hold the hinge in place. We'll adjust and tighten both hinges in a later step. Repeat this procedure for the bottom hinge. We're going to rotate the door and apply the handle, which will make it easier to install. Before you disassemble the handle, locate the side with the Allen screws. This side is the interior handle of the door and is positioned with the set screws facing down. Loosen the Allen screws and disassemble the handle. Insert the attachment studs through the glass with the washers and spacers as shown. Hold the exterior handle in position and use a screwdriver to tighten the studs into the exterior handle. Place the interior handle over the studs with the Allen screws facing down. Securely tighten the Allen screws to lock the handle into position. Carefully set the door aside. Carefully place the panel into your shower opening. The panel is normally centered on the curb. However, this attachment hole must be at least 1 inch from the edge of the curb. Adjust as necessary and use a tape measure to align the panel parallel with the curb. Note the back set dimension. Use a Sharpie to mark the bottom hole locations. Use a level to plumb the panel and mark the position of the top hole. Place the panel back on the protective wooden wedges and drill 3/16" diameter holes in the locations marked. If you're drilling directly into a stud, switch to a 1/8" diameter bit. The bits will last longer if you cool them in a cup of water about every 60 seconds. Repeat this process for the remaining 2 holes. Fill the holes with clear silicone. If your attachment screw will not be going into a stud, insert the wall plugs and tap into place. Use a razor knife to trim the plugs to allow the clips to lay flat on the wall. Replace the panel and attach with the screws provided. This edge of the panel must be perfectly plumb. If the top of the panel needs to move away from the wall, loosen the screw on the bracket closest to the wall and add additional shims to the corner bracket. If the top of the panel needs to move closer to the wall, add additional shims to the center bracket. Retighten the set screws. Measure the width of your door, then add 7/16 inch to this dimension. This should be the opening for the door. Loosen the set screws on the brackets and move the panel laterally to create this door opening plus or minus 1/8 inch. The space between the panel and the wall can be as wide as 1/4 inch, or the panel can be tight to the wall. Note that if your wall is not perfectly plumb, this dimension may vary from top to bottom. This will be covered later when we caulk the door. Now, let's install the door. Place the 2 1/2 inch wooden spacers on the curb as shown, and carefully lift the door into position. Press the acrylic drip rail over the top of the door and the panel to align and position the door. Use wedges to create a 1/8 inch gap between the door and the panel. Use a tape measure to align the bottom of the door parallel to the curb and in alignment with the fixed panel. With these adjustments, the space between the door and the wall should be between 1/4 and 3/8 inch. Again, if your wall is not perfectly plumb, these dimensions may vary from top to bottom. Loosen the screws in the faceplates of the hinges and press the hinges tight to the wall. Mark the hole positions with a Sharpie. Securely tighten the faceplates and return the door to the protective wooden wedges. Drill the holes and install plugs if needed. Fill the holes with silicone and trim the plugs as previously described. Replace and install the door with the 6 screws provided. Remove the drip rail, corner pads, and wooden spacers. Test the operation of the door and make adjustments to the spacing if required. For good measure, tighten the set screws one more time. Mark the drip rail to match the width of the door. Cut to length with a hacksaw. Now press the drip rail over the bottom of the door with the angled deflector to the inside. Use of the dam strip is optional, but recommended if your curb does not have a slope to the interior. Mark the length, cut, clean the curb, and apply with the double stick tape. Using a good grade of clear silicone, seal the interior and exterior of the fixed panel. Use the silicone to fill the small gap at the bottom of the panel and any gap between the panel and the wall. If you're not comfortable with your caulking skills, there are a number of excellent how-to videos on YouTube.
Clean your new Symphony enclosures with a soft cloth and glass cleaner. Be sure to remove the EnduroShield labels from the glass and follow the instructions to register for their 10-year warranty. And there we have a beautiful installation of a Symphony shower enclosure made much less difficult by the plumb walls. Unfortunately, in the real world, walls are not always plumb. Let's assume that this wall is not plumb, but actually leans in 3/8 of an inch. If we didn't catch this when measuring and adjust the width as instructed, this 33-inch panel would be too wide.
Per our measuring video, we would have ordered a smaller unit based on the top or the wall changing the position of the fixed panel. Instead of a 33-inch panel, we would have ordered a 32.5-inch panel.
And since we now have a gap too large to caulk, we would have also ordered the optional caulking adapter. To install the caulking adapter, we first cut the extrusions to fit between the top and bottom clips. Peel the double stick tape and press one extrusion on the outside of the glass as shown. Move inside and run a generous bead of silicone as shown. Press the inside extrusion into place and run smaller beads of silicone as shown. And there you have it. Despite less than desirable wall conditions, an attractive and functional Symphony enclosure.
Frameless enclosures are preferred for their clean lines and maximum expanse of glass. They unfortunately are not aquariums, and under normal conditions, a small amount of water may penetrate the gap between the door and panel. If you have higher water pressure, use hand sprayers, etc., you may want to add the optional acrylic strike jam. This polycarbonate extrusion presses over the fixed panel and the door closes into the soft blade. Unfortunately, it will restrict the inward swing of the door.